Hey, we got a yep. Let's go. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, here we go. So just real quickly, I am the Youth Services Librarian at the Frankemuth Wickson District Library. I've been here about 9 years. Frankemuth, in case you're not aware of it, is a small tourist town in mid-Michigan area. We're a Class 3 library, and we have a staff of only 10, but we serve about 8,000 people. So we're quite small. But one of our missions is to engage our patrons in meaningful activities. And one of those meaningful activities that we found was the activities that we found in the maker movement. And so I'm coming from a public library view, so we don't have necessarily a captive audience like maybe you would in school. So one of our goals is to actually attract people by using some of these activities that they'll spend time at the library. So the birth of the maker movement at our library started pretty naturally because we saw that there was a desire for our patrons to create things. The beginning saw a group of school-age kids that like to do crafts. So we had a crafty kid club every month, and you see like a hand puppet there, and you see some snowmen, hot chocolate gifts that they made around Christmas. So we meet once a month, and we create something, but it was always out of recycled materials because being a small library, your budget's small, and we just used what we had. From there, we developed programs for our adult makers. We had a few structured classes, and borrowing from the upcycling concept, we used old books in the middle, as you can see, to make purses, some handheld devices and covers, and even art. Our adult patrons continue to ask for more programming, and so we started a Friday coffee and craft club where people come and meet on Fridays, and they either bring their projects that they're working on. We get knitters, we get card makers, we get crafters, we get people who come up with ideas every week and bring the materials the next week, and we pretty much just share, and it's a lot of collaboration, not a lot of work on our part, just giving them an environment and a place to meet. From there, with the rise of the maker movement in our local schools, we shifted into more intentional, structured maker nights where we tried to reinforce some of the school initiatives. So these maker nights were set up around the theme where centers could be explored at the patron's own pace. We provided space in our community room, and it was more of, like I said, a centered space, or centered oriented, and it was a self-paced type of activity where parents would go around with their kids and explore the different centers. They also provided different skill levels for different ages, knowing that people would want to bring their whole family to it. So the first picture is showing a Make It Monday night where the topic was circuits, and part of this was squishy circuits. We had paper circuits, and we had a makey-makey adaptations that night in addition to some others. The center one was a take-apart, which was a super popular maker night for our kids. We do it at least once, maybe twice a year, where they can take some tools and take apart real technology. This one was keyboards. Also part of that was they took the keyboard keys and they made art with it afterwards. And then the picture on the right is our Make It Monday Halloween edition, where we took candy and we did a lot of exploring chemistry and different engineering concepts using some Halloween candy. So this was our once-a-month family night at the library. Well, because we see that so many people love to come to the Monday Maker Night, we thought we need a permanent place where kids can actually just come to the library and make. And so one of the challenges in our building, we have a beautiful building, but we really have no place to expand. So what we had to do is think out of the box and carve out some space. So we had some wasted space where actually I kept all my storytime stuff stored, and we got it out underneath the staircase, believe it or not. And it became this lovely, lovely place for our tweens to hang out. You can see in the middle, there's little nooks there where the tweens like to hang out and hide from their parents and play games. And then part of that nook also, on the right side, you'll see a permanent maker space, which has rotating themes. A rotating theme that month, it looks like it was origami. Right now we have like a simple machine kit out that they can work with, but we use things also like Osmo or snowflakes, or things that have to do with the theme at the time, or things that are maybe going on in school. This is another part of our makerspace area where we have some all computers And we also have an iPad out where the kids can explore some of the maker apps that we have on it. On the right, I have two little girls. It was a cold, snowy day. I think we even had a snow day that day. And they wanted to learn to knit. So I took out that Knitting Knitters rings and showed them, just maybe took 5 minutes to show them how to do it. And they continued to knit a hat that day. So a lot of the stuff that goes on at the Makerspace area is kind of impromptu. We are a small library, so we know our patrons pretty well. But a lot of times if the Osmo isn't out and they want to play Osmo, they just come to the desk and ask if we can get the Osmo out for them, and we're happy to do that. Other activities at our passive Makerspace station are listed here. Now I have listed a couple of them. The bunch are these little sticky circles. You got to be careful; they get caught in the hair, though. We found that out the hard way. And then we use a lot of cardboard and junk and string arts that they can just do open play or open creating some cross stitch. We've taken out the Google goggles. It looks like my Magna blocks or tiles are kind of the picture sideways, but kids create using those. Oops. And also you can see we have like a dad that also likes to join his son. And one of the signs we have in there is no adults are allowed without being accompanied by a child. So he was definitely in his legal right to be there at that moment. Another part of our maker movement and the things that we do is that we have some maker kits that adults can check out for their kids. They check them out for 10 days. It always includes books and some type of interactive item. We hold them behind the desk. They bring up like a sheet that's kind of hanging on the wall, and they ask for it. We have an inventory list, and it has the prices of all the items so the parents understand what they're getting into as they check it out. As they get checked back in, we inventory them and we zip tie them so that no one can take any of the items out. And then they can only be checked out by an adult because some of the items are pretty expensive, and the parents need to know what their kids are checking out. A lot of times those items are used at the maker table to help promote the kit. So we'll take out the makey, or we'll take out the circuits, and then the kids will get excited and want to check out the kit that goes with it. Something that's new is our Try It Thursdays, and this was developed by our Youth Services Librarian Cora Schaff. We wanted to have something for the teens that had been hanging out at the library. She recently renovated our teen area and made it a little more welcoming, and we found out we had a lot of kids just coming to do their homework or to hang out, and so she thought, what better opportunity is there to kind of throw classes at them? Very casual, 1-hour courses every other Thursday after school, and you can see some of the things that she's done already. The schedule of events for the winter is listed there on the right, and then in the middle is an example of something that she would send home with the kids. They made bath balls, the bath fizzes, those balls that just kind of explode when you put them in. They made those 1 week, and then she gave them a recipe to take home and told them the science behind it too. This week they're making homemade pretzels, and what she does for this is taps into the community and asks people that we know that are experts in different areas to come in and share with our teams on Thursdays. So here's an example. This one was bubble tea on the left. And she sets up the community room where the kids know they can pop in on Thursdays, and they can try something new. Now, this is only for teens, and even though that seems kind of exclusive, it actually has been beneficial in that it's brought more teens into the library, knowing that their little sister or brother isn't going to be hanging with them and doing the same activities as they are. Another thing that has come from this is that our teens are doing their homework at the library now, and our computers are becoming full. So one of the things Cora has done is we got money to buy Chromebooks, and the Chromebooks can be checked out by the kids after school, and they can use them in-house. And then when they're done with them, they check them back in with us and return them. And that's been beneficial for the after-school crowd, especially the adults that are using the computer when all the kids are on the computers at the same time. So that is something new that we just have initiated this fall, and it's been very successful, and it's been a new way to introduce activities, that they would normally not do if it weren't for someone introducing it to them. So as far as supplies go, Kristen will tell you that we're super, super creative with what we do and where we get our supplies. A lot of it is donated by some of our patrons that know that we enjoy making. So I have a cardboard tube supplier. I have a poster board supplier. I have computer junk supplies also coming from somebody. And you'll see next to each of the supplies some of the things that we have made with them. We are really big into T-shirts now. In fact, next week I get to do the T-shirt conversions from T-shirts into bags and into scarves for the teens. Also, the cardboard boxes are really big with us, too. So you'll see a couple of those there also. We do have a great organizational system in the basement. It does get a little overwhelming at times, but every once in a while we have to go down and straighten it up, and we do quite well with that. A lot of times we do secure funding through our local community, and they're willing to fund any of these initiatives, especially if they're maker initiatives. They seem to be very excited about that, and especially if we communicate to them how we are reinforcing what's going on in the schools and the STEM education that's going on there. Adults are also getting into the maker movement with us. I see I have a picture of that sideways again. But we had someone on the far left side, they donated this heat press, and the handle was broken. So we had a little handyman, and he fixed it for us. And now we make T-shirts. You see one of them below. Some of the ideas, the calendar on the right was made by one of our patrons that saw that on Pinterest and wanted to make it. So one Friday we had some supplies, and she brought some supplies, and we did it. The picture that's sideways, that's a succulent garden workshop that our youth services person put on. Of course, Kristen got us stuck on glass etching. So we had some glass etching things that went on around Christmas time, too, that people made for their family. And because we bought a silhouette, so we could glass etch, we also were able to make some palette signs, which was really, really fun. The palette on the right was a really popular one during Christmas time also. So our main resource are our people. On the left, I know Kristen will recognize Marty. He is he's a junk man. He takes apart computers and technology, and he sells the pieces by weight, and he gives us anything that he thinks we might be interested in. So we have anything from large super rubber bands to big pieces of foam to little gears. So he's been a resource for years in the library. In the middle, you'll see a yoga class. That's one of our Try It Thursday teen classes, and this yoga instructor is a popular one in the community. And Cora, Youth Services librarian, asked her if she would come and donate her time and teach the kids a little bit of yoga. And on the right, we have also our police officer. She's the liaison to the schools. She came in and she did a hands-only CPR course for the kids on one of the Try It Thursdays. So what we do is we try to best to use the resources in the community so the community has buy-in. And we're excited to see and to learn what is out there. We definitely haven't tapped into the whole thing. We don't even know what kind of resources are out there, but the more that we talk about it, the more the kids are talking about it, the more exciting it becomes. And then just some tips when you're thinking about what your group might look like. These are kind of things that you need to think about. Just understanding what your population is, knowing what kind of space you have, deciding, we're not going to have a huge maker space. We're not going to be able to rent out tools. We're not going to be able to do things that maybe bigger libraries have, but we knew what kind of things we wanted to do, and we're able to accomplish that. Also thinking about your budget. If you have money, how can you secure financing for it? What kind of people in your community might be willing to invest in it? Also, your staffing. Our staffing is very limited, so anything that we do in our passive makerspace, we know that it has to be very low staffing as far as needs go. And then different opportunities that we might have, like people donating objects to the library and using those. And then, of course, knowing what your assets are. And people, of course, are your biggest resource. And then also looking at your own staff and seeing what kind of talents you have there. Do we have people that know how to sew? Then let's put on a sewing class. And it's amazing. If you throw it out there and you think, well, who's going to come to a sewing class? They come. And especially if they know that every week or every other week that consistently you're going to give them some maker activities to do. So flexibility is most important when you're trying to find your groove. And if you find your program isn't a hit, you just evaluate it. You look at your variables that might be hindering your population for coming, and then try it again or shift gears and try something new. But most of all, I think if you have fun, and if your library is having fun, the people are going to have fun and they're going to come. So thank you for being patient. Sorry about all the glitches, and I hope this was helpful to you.
Thanks so much, Pam. We'd like to open it up for a few minutes of question and answer. And to kick it off, we've seen a question from Laura at Niles District Library, and she's actually going to speak later today. She had a question about the Chromebooks for teens and what your procedure is when they are returned. Do you clean them off? Do you reset them to the factory defaults, or do you just take them back?
Well, they're only used in the library, for one thing, so they don't take them home with them. They are programmed so that when they shut down, everything is taken off. Once in a while, we'll see that kids did not log out of their email, and so we'll have to log out for them. But because, again, we are a small library, it doesn't seem to be a problem, and we know the kids quite well. So we were so nervous about doing it, but it's been a big hit, and the kids that don't own computers at home really rely on us now to have those Chromebooks after school so they can get their homework done.
That's awesome. Other questions? If you've got questions, click on the chat button and you can share them. I just want to point out something that Kathy mentions, which is that there are two places we know of in southeastern Michigan that sell basically parts and junk from manufacturing or donations, and it's like $7 a grocery bag. And one is Scrapbox in Ann Arbor, and one is, Kathy reminded me, the other one is Arts and Scraps in Detroit. I can say, and Pam, maybe you want to talk a little bit about what kind of junk do you collect and how do you get it?
Oh my goodness. Well, we take donations from whoever wants to give it to us. We're just not picky right now. We go through it, and if we find we can't use it, we do get rid of it. But we're super welcoming. But a lot of the stuff that we get that the kids love are like springs and metal pieces and things that look techy to them, and so they love to create with that. But we also, people will bring in interesting, like triangular paper that was used instead of like those peanuts, those foam peanuts, and they'll say, oh, I know that your kids love to do this, so I thought you might be interested in these triangles, and we keep them. And if we don't use them within a couple of years, we usually try to recycle them or get rid of them. Another thing we do, and Kristen does this too, is we go to Goodwill and we think about what are we going to do. Like this summer, we're going to be making a lot of instruments, so we go with a project in mind. We go to the Goodwill in Flint and we rummage through their bins, and we usually find what we're looking for. One time I went for Monopoly money because we were doing the Money Smart Week, and I found tons of Monopoly money. So it's amazing how that happens. But more than anything, we just, whatever comes in, we try to use that first instead of going off. And we create our project according to what we have instead of thinking we need to buy this product so that we can do an activity that we have in mind. So we kind of work backwards, and it's worked for us because kids just want to create. You know, they don't have to have the hottest, greatest thing. They just want an opportunity to create.
That's a great answer. And I put some information about Goodwill outlets. They're different from regular Goodwills because you buy by the pound, and Pam and I share a love for the Goodwill outlet. And it is amazing how much Monopoly money you can find at a Goodwill outlet. The one in Granville and the one in Flint have slightly different pricing schemes. It's a good place to go to get mechanical toys. It's a great place to go. Like, you can walk out with an entire cart full of stuff from a Goodwill outlet and it'll be under $50. So it's a really great way to spread spread your budget really far. But you also have done things right in town. Haven't you gotten things from your local McDonald's for one of your projects?
Oh, yes, we have. Actually, we were doing, it was the superhero summer reading, and we wanted the kids to make their own superheroes, but we wanted them to morph toys together. And so they would have to take apart the toys, and then they'd have to figure out what pieces and components could work together. And some were, electronical pieces, but a lot of them was just, how does it look? It looks pretty cool. You got, the 100 Caterpillars head on top of a transformer, and they'd have to write a story about it. So we went to our local McDonald's, and we asked them if they had the extra Happy Meal toys, if they would donate them to us, and they did. Like I said, we always tap into our community, being a small community, and the community here wants to give back to the kids, and we're constantly tying it into what's happening in the schools. And it's rare that we ever get a no. We usually get a yes every single time, and we work hard for it, and we make connections, and we build relationships. We don't just take it for granted. So, yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I forgot about that one.
And she actually has a book for young children on, it's not called Frankentoys, but it is about how you can help kids sort of envision how they might morph one toy into another. So you guys have let me ask Pam some questions. Is there anything else from the group? So don't be afraid to post questions in the chat. There's a nice chat going on of what can you do with old Kindles. And so, and there's answers that range from overdrive to making it a monitor for your Raspberry Pi with a link of how to do that. And Pete has an idea about using them as recording devices, sort of a StoryCorps kind of model, which I've found to be super powerful with kids and adults before. I love the idea of spy ideas. So keep your eyes open and feel free to post questions like that in the chat. I'm going to give you the last call, and then I think we might just jump ahead with